Hello out there and good morning traders. It is February 29th, 2024, and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. Let's start with our recap and then update our session plan and levels for today. So I apologize for being a little bit later this morning. Essentially, things have been shifting in the last half hour or so, but we'll take a look at why and how that is. So yesterday we were looking at kind of a dissonant market. We were between two different situations. We had more recent bearish information and more longer-term bullish information. Whenever in that type of scenario, we have to be cognizant of the back and forth that can happen in a market, and that's essentially what we ended up seeing yesterday. We were definitely coming off of the bullish lows, which we were paying attention to in the DMI, and I had mentioned that getting through this neutral area was going to be good information for us for the upside move to continue up into the bear zone. So as the market was kind of developing yesterday, we didn't get up through that neutral area, so there wasn't anything for us really to do here in the open. We were just kind of waiting. And then once we pushed up through into this section here, we accepted above this neutral area. These were the layup kind of longs that we were looking for the remainder of the session. They didn't release. They didn't go anywhere, right? We got the first one was really the best one, and it looked like it had the legs to continue to the upside, but it never cleared out the prior highs. And whenever you see something like that, whenever you see an obvious price action type of situation, you stick with the what is picture, but you have to be aware of where you're at in the risk reward landscape. And in the risk reward landscape, this is your best area for the risk, right? And out here, you're halfway, right? You're halfway there to the reward. So whenever you're assessing opportunity, this out in the middle here, right? If you take a trade out here, it's more of a scalping type of opportunity because you're not at the area where the risk makes the most sense, right? You're not at the line in the sand, let's call it. It's a continuation trade. Continuation trades can be great, but you have to account for more information with some of those. So as we accept to the upside here, we get a great long opportunity here. It pushes up to the highs and doesn't get through the highs. So great opportunities to scale, good MFE, good profitability, but never really pushing the next level for this trade. And then, of course, going sideways for the remainder of the session and going nowhere. But what we were looking for was a full move of this whole area. Well, guess what we saw today? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you 5063, kind of this area down here. Remember this price action down here. Look at what we have developing this morning. We now have the long that we were looking for yesterday down at the 63s pushed up and has now traversed up into that bearish area. So that was the trade we were looking for yesterday. Sometimes things like this can happen within the Nadro framework because we work from multiple time frames. Some of our time frames are a lot higher and disconnected from the intraday, which means that some of these trade ideas, they can take a day, 2 days, 3 days, sometimes even a week to manifest themselves and then give us a decision, which part of my job as somebody that goes through and preps the markets every day is to pay attention to that. And whenever things are setting up, whenever things are obvious, I make them obvious in the DMIs. So right now, today, we have that bullish trade now. And let's talk about this bullish trade. The bullish trade's overall destination is up here. It comes from a higher time frame. To get to this location up here, we have to chew through this area. This area is critical to the upside. We have to get up above it and hold up above it. If we do not do that, in other words, if we do not see this neutral area break to the upside, then it's possible we could end up rotating back in and staying in this zone or testing this overall trade idea or line in the sand for the bulls. So that's kind of the bigger picture of what we're looking at with today's context. Overall, our edge in the ranking and distilling process is more to the bullish side of things, and that's what we have to pay attention to. So breaking down our scenarios, this is our main list for the session. Scenario 1 is that we hold up above this list. Now, we've already released from there, right? We've hit the first destination area, which is this neutral zone. From here, this neutral zone becomes important to us because if we get scenario 1 continuation, we're going to get up above that, press first into that neutral reference, and then possibly up into here. This would be the overall destination, like I was mentioning earlier, for this bullish line in the sand continuation. If this neutral zone holds and we start to rotate back down, then we're looking at a dissonant market again. So yesterday's idea where we had a bearish zone and then a bullish zone, that's going to become true once again for us in the ES, in the overall context of the ES. This neutral zone is only neutral right now because we've pushed up into it as a destination, and the bigger trade idea is bullish. But if this neutral area holds, it becomes more and more bearish as it holds. And then it becomes a dissonant factor to the upside of this bigger trade from the line in the sand. All right? So just to kind of put that into perspective, scenario 1 is a long picture. In this zone here, if it holds to the downside, we have some dissonance. The edge is still to the upside, though, which is why you don't see any bearish references here. Now, that's with scenario 1. So now you have the full layout of scenario 1. This neutral zone is the critical spot to get above for continuation. If it doesn't get above there, we stay kind of in a rotational, dissonant type of nebulous context. If it gets down below, we see scenario 2. So if we push all the way back down, we accept below, and we start seeing something like this, scenario 2 is definitely more short to the downside underneath this line in the sand, and that would be our first destination or overall target for that. And that would be kind of what we're looking for out of scenario 2 for the session today. All right, so just a quick breakdown of that layout, that landscape. This area here is dissonant, but our edge is slightly to the upside, right? This is our main list for the session. This is the move that we're currently seeing. For us to get above this neutral area, that would give us the continuation information we need to possibly hit higher targets. And that's the upside, scenarios. If we get down below here, there really isn't much in terms of dissonance down into that particular neutral reference, and that would be the overall downside scenario. Okay? That's our overall landscape within our prep. Like I said, scenario 1 is that we hold up above. This neutral zone, like I said, is going to be critical for the early morning. If we get up above that and hold it, that's great information for us for the upside and continuation trade opportunities. If we don't hold it, we have to pay attention to the neutral areas as we come down through for any type of scalping opportunities to the long side. And that would be how we handle today's scenarios. All right, so mind your process and trade well out there. Hopefully this was an interesting DMI for you because it was a little different. We actually had some opportunities manifest themselves early in our morning session with a little bit of an 8:30 news catalyst here, pushing us up and kind of showing us that the bulls have a little bit of control, at least in the short term, and we'll see how much control they actually have if they're able to clear out this neutral reference or not. If they're not able to, then it's going to be back into that rotational picture, that dissonant kind of area that could be a problem. If they continue to the upside, a little bit more clear all the way up here.